past 30 years in the stock market has been an absolutely crazy roller coaster, and there's been some amazing winners along the way who managed to stick with the plan. If you'd managed to pull out your diamond hands 30 years ago and stuck with the plan through the ups and downs, you could be sitting on a small fortune, living the high life somewhere, on some beach, sipping some cocktails, or just generally having a great time and telling your boss to go do one.
Quitting his job today.
In this video, I'm going to run through the top 10 winners of the last 30 years and show you what you could have made if you'd invested $10,000 just a small 30 years ago. Sorry, I've not got a DeLorean, so we can't go back 30 years and put our money in the stock market.
I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet.
We're going to have to focus on the next 30 years for the next one, but let me know below in the comments if you've got any tips for the next 30 years that we can diamond hand together. The number one spot might surprise you, and I'll give you a hint. We're not just talking a few $1 million here, we're talking tens of millions of dollars return with that $10,000 investment, so stick around.
Show me the money.
Right, let's get straight into this. We're going to start at number 10, work our way up to number 1 for the biggest returns. And in number 10, IDEX Labs. They produce healthcare diagnostics and vet equipment for both pet animals and livestock. The company went public back in 1991 and since then has generated 50,000% returns. That's an average annual growth rate of 23.5% over 29 years. Also in the past 5 years alone, they've generated a return of about 580%. A $10,000 investment in IDEX stock back in 1991 would be worth over $5 million. Wow.
Wow, no wonder she wanted to leave.
In number 9, global tobacco giant Altria. This company went public in July 1985, and despite all the pressure on the tobacco industry in the recent years, they still gained a huge 61,599% overall over the past 30 years. Average return has been a whopping market-beating 23.9%. Now, the growth isn't quite as exciting recently, but a $10,000 investment in their stock in 1990 would be worth a whole $6.2 million. Cha-ching. In number 8, United Health. These guys are one of the biggest US health insurance providers. They went public back also in 1991, and they've generated returns of over 63,000%. That works out at a huge market-beating 24.8%. These shares are still doing really well, and they've had a total return on the S&P 500 since 2015 of more than double. A $10,000 investment in this stock would have netted you over $6.3 million back in 1990. In number 7, maybe one of the more boring sectors, but still very profitable, Kansas City Southern. These guys are a railroad company that went public back in 1962. Of course, trains haven't gone anywhere, and in fact, they're still one of the best ways to get freight across the country. And in the past 30 years, their shares have generated a total return of 78,464%. That is unbelievable. A $10,000 investment back in 1990 would now be worth $7.8 million. Who would have thought railroads would be that interesting? In number 6, Ross Stores. This company went public back in August 1985, and the past 30 years, the stock has generated a total return of 81,286%, or about 25% annually. Your $10,000 investment in Ross Stores would be worth over $8.1 million. In number 5, another bricks and mortar retail shop that's done super well over in the States, that's Best Buy. They went public back in 1987, and the company was selling cassette tapes and VCRs. I bet some of you don't even remember them being sold. Today, they're more alike to selling the high-end tech, smartphones and tablets, and since 1990, they've generated a total return of 108,511%, or about 26.2% annually. Your $10,000 investment in Best Buy back in 1990 is now worth over $10 million. Now we're talking. If you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to drop me a quick like. It will really help push the video out to more people, and it really helps the channel grow, so thanks, I appreciate it. And now on to number 4. In number 4, we're going over to the healthcare sector. This company's called Cerner. They went public way back in December 1986, and they've generated a whopping 142,419% return for their investors over the last 30 years. They were an early mover automating healthcare processes, and their transition is still taking place. Their average returns have been over 27% year on year, huge market-beating results. More recently, the growth hasn't been so exciting, but your $10,000 30 years ago would now be worth $14.2 million. Taking the number 3 slot on the podium, in bronze position, one I'd never heard about, Jack Henry & Associates. These guys went public back in November 1985, and they've generated returns of 212,300% 322% for their shareholders. Their average returns have been 29.1% annualized, and the stock is showing no signs of slowing down. In fact, it's generated about 5% total return in the past decade. Your $10,000 investment in this stock would mean you'd have a bank balance of over $21 million. In number 2, and this one's going to completely surprise you, in silver place, the Monster Beverage Company. These guys have got an incredible story. Go and look it up. These guys went public in August 1995, and in 25 years, Monster Energy Company has generated a total return of 212,468%. They struck a deal with Coca-Cola in which Coca-Cola actually took a 19% ownership in the company in return for them being the primary global distributor. Since its IPO, the shares have generated an average annual return of a market-beating whopping 35.4%. Your $10,000 stake in the Monster Company would now be worth, wait for it, over $21.2 million. I think I've got one on the fridge downstairs actually. And finally, thanks for sticking around for number 1, the best return stock over the past 30 years. This one is a whopper. Probably no surprise as well. A Whopper's not a hint, by the way, it's not Burger King. No surprises here whatsoever. You're probably all customers of this company, whether that's directly or indirectly. I'm sure you interact with it every single day. It's Amazon. Jeff Bezos took this company public back in 1997, and since then, the returns have been 212,922%, more than any other stock over the past 30 years. Amazon's moved from this online bookstore to a $1.6 trillion online marketplace juggernaut, offering anything you can buy under the sun, including Amazon Prime, groceries, Prime Video, you name it. And this one's an incredible return. If you had those diamond hands out and invested $10,000 back when Amazon IPO'd, your investment would now be worth $21.3 million. Not bad for a little online bookstore, is it, Jeff? No wonder he could afford to go to space on those kinds of returns. So there you have it, some amazing returns over the last 30 years for those investors who would have held their diamond hands, rode out the highs and lows and stuck with the plan. Definitely some lessons in there for all of us to follow to make sure we don't sell too early. Now, if I could ask you a favour, could you go and find the other winners for the next 30 years and do me a favour and drop them in the comment section below? That would be great, thanks. Thanks again for watching. Drop me a like if you'd enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more. I'll see you guys in the next one.